Leo lives in a fantastical world of magic and monsters, being the greatest knight in the entire kingdom. One day, the Demon Queen's army attacked the human realm, and Leo was chosen to defend it alongside other heroes. Leo was a master of countless abilities: swordsman, archer, mage, and more, almost like a one-man army. He was so powerful that the entire demon army trembled at the sound of his name. However, his teammates were basically useless, and Leo ended up carrying everyone during battles. The archer was terrible at close combat, the swordsman could barely cut a tomato, and the mage, well, he only knew how to heal. Tired of it all, Leo, like a true Chad, decided to abandon the group, believing he could defeat the entire demon army by himself. He started by destroying small enemy troops on his own, which led the demon queen Echidna to send her 4 elite generals to hunt him down. The first of them was Edvard, a half-dragon with tough scales and overwhelming strength. Leo might have struggled if it were a pure sword fight, but Edvard was naive and didn't understand complex strategies, so Leo used magic to neutralize him and defeated him quickly. Next, Leo faced a gothic assassin named Marinus, known for her speed and stealth, which earned her a place among the elite. They fought inside a church, where Myrnis attacked relentlessly, inflicting some damage, but while defending himself, Leo recited an Arya spell, destroying the entire church and defeating Myrnis in one go. The next challenge was Lily, a wolf girl who had lost her memory after hitting her head on a post. While searching for Leo, they met under a tree on a rainy day, and Leo, feeling pity for her, took care of the girl. One day, after tripping, she regained her memories and immediately tried to attack him. However, Leo defeated her easily, which made Lily fall in love with his personality. Finally, he faced Shutina, a powerful mage. Leo used a high-level anti-magic barrier, rendering Shutina's powers useless. With no other option, she was forced to fight him physically, but since she was extremely weak in that area, she was defeated effortlessly. After defeating the 4 generals, only the demon queen Echidna remained, who transformed into a colossal monster to face him. The battle was intense, but Leo refused to kill her, realizing she wasn't truly evil. During the invasion, he had seen her stop her army from causing unnecessary destruction. After single-handedly destroying the entire demon army, Leo returned to the kingdom expecting to be welcomed as a hero. However, he was met with coldness and fear. One day he was summoned by the king, who acknowledged his contribution in defeating the demon queen's army but, pressured by the people, decided to exile him. Betrayed and disillusioned, Leo began living as a beggar, and over time, he developed a deep resentment toward humanity. One day, he overheard people saying that the demon queen Echidna was trying to rebuild her army. Although he was still weak, that made him reflect, and he decided that if the world wanted to destroy him, he would destroy the world first. Determined to join the queen's army, Leo went to the demon queen's castle and presented himself to Echidna and her generals. She was surprised to see him there, and Leo explained that he wanted to give a presentation about his past achievements, his combat and strategy experience, and how he had defeated her entire army alone. He felt confident he'd get the job, but Echidna immediately dismissed him. Shocked, Leo tried to persuade her again, showing more charts and explaining that he was willing to work hard to make up for her losses. Echidna, still suspicious, hesitated. The demon queen, losing patience with Leo, began raining fireballs down on him, driving him out of her hall. Before leaving the castle, however, Leo managed to convince the 4 elite generals to talk with him. After many attempts, he persuaded them to give him a chance to help the demons conquer the world. The generals finally granted him that opportunity, but asked him to keep a low profile so Echidna wouldn't find out about the deal. The next morning, Leo met with Shutina, one of the generals, who was overwhelmed with work since he had destroyed their army. She handed him a list of tasks so long it looked like an endless list of excuses girls give to avoid going out. Impressed, he asked why Shutina didn't delegate some of the work, and she explained that her perfectionism wouldn't allow it. She'd end up supervising everyone anyway, which would only make her workload heavier. One of the tasks was to keep the castle's mana reserves full to ensure proper operation. Shutina said only she could handle that because the reserves were tuned to the frequency of her own magic, and a change in frequency could cause the reservoir to explode. With a confident smile, Leo said he could match his magic frequency to hers. Aware of Leo's abilities, Shutina allowed him to try. Leo put on a black suit of armor and adopted a fake name to avoid being recognized. He went down to the reserves and, half an hour later, returned to tell Shutina that the task was complete. Surprised, she suggested he start another task, but he said he needed to rest since his mana had been drained and lay down on the couch. While resting, Leo used a spell called Magic Eye to observe Shutina's work. She let him rest, but an hour later, annoyed to see him still lying there, she tried to pull him off the couch. However, he used gravity magic to make himself heavier, forcing Shutina to give up and return to her work. After 2 hours, Shutina lost her patience and, extremely irritated, summoned her staff, saying she had risked Echidna's disapproval by giving him a chance at redemption, and he was wasting it. With a frightened expression, Leo tried to calm her down, but she wouldn't listen anymore. At that moment, a white-haired girl entered the room and announced she had just refilled the mana reserves. Confused, Shutina asked what was going on, and Leo explained that during the 30 minutes he'd been away, he had gone to the forge and crafted a special pendant that automatically adjusted the wearer's magic frequency to match hers. He handed the pendant to the girl, who completed the task safely. Leo explained that thanks to the pendant, Shutina no longer needed to worry about maintaining the mana reserves herself. He then revealed that while resting, he had been devising a new work plan, separating the tasks that only Shutina could perform from those that could be delegated. Moved, Shutina apologized for calling him lazy when, in fact, he had been trying to make her job easier. Later that night, Shutina invited Leo to her quarters. Instead of any attempt at seduction, they discussed the critical situation of the Demon Queen's army, which was running low on supplies. Shutina explained that the next day, Lily would travel to an island called Largo to fetch essential provisions. Leo asked what the problem was, and Shutina handed him a report written by Lily after her last mission. The report was a messy pile of doodles drawn in crayon that barely made sense since Lily was, to say the least, quite clumsy. Shutina explained that Lily's reports had always been like that, leading to misunderstandings and unnecessary delays. She asked Leo to accompany Lily to Largo to make sure the mission was carried out efficiently. Shutina then told Leo about the events from 3,000 years ago, when the Demon King led an attack against humans and was ultimately defeated. After the conflict, most demons found a way to coexist peacefully with humans. However, the story was different for the dragons. They faced discrimination and persecution, treated with hostility in human lands as if they were unwanted foreigners. Because of that, they were forced to migrate to a deserted island known as Largo, where they remain to this day. Shutina explained that the dragons are the only ones who continue to help the demon army, especially in difficult times, being the main reason the army is managing to recover. Leo asked why she didn't send Edvard, since he was also a dragon and could handle them better. Shutina explained that although she had considered sending Edvard, she realized he would end up doing all the work himself, and Lily wouldn't learn anything. Agreeing, Leo volunteered to accompany Lily on the mission. The next day, Leo and Lily set out for the mythical island of Largo, along with hundreds of demons and beasts to help transport the supplies. Upon arrival, Leo was surprised by the disorganization of the place. Lily turned everything into a game, even running toward the town square to see who could reach the transporter first. Leo ran after her, asking her to stop, worried that her antics might anger the dragons. He finally caught up to her at the transporter and asked her to stop fooling around and focus on the mission. Lily, however, said she was working and quickly organized the demons to load the supplies before taking a break. While observing the situation on the island, Leo noticed that the work wasn't being divided according to each demon's skills, which made everything inefficient. He tried suggesting a better division of labor, but one of the demons told him he only followed orders from the general. Frustrated, Leo returned to his tent with a headache, trying to think of a way to teach Lily how to handle situations like this. He also worried that if the chaos continued, the dragons might withdraw their support from the demon army, which would be disastrous. As he reflected, Lily entered the tent and, concerned, asked if he was okay. Leo replied that he wasn't, and Lily ran off to fetch medicine, even trying to trade supplies for it. That gave Leo an idea. He realized he could help Lily mature, but without forcing her. When Lily returned with the medicine, he pretended to be even sicker and said he had been bitten by a venomous snake that no one nearby could cure. In truth, he had summoned the snake himself and could neutralize the poison at any moment. Leo said the only way to save him was with a special mix of herbs that only grew on the eastern edge of the island. Lily took off running, and Leo lifted the venom's effect before using his magic eye spell to monitor her. He had set up several obstacles along the way, so she'd need the help of her fellow demons to overcome them. Lily used her ability to transform into a large divine wolf, boosting her speed and strength, and continued along the path until she came across her first obstacle, a huge boulder blocking the passage. Leo had cast an invulnerability spell on the rock, making it impervious to magic attacks. Lily began striking it, frustrated that she couldn't break it. Leo waited for her to realize she'd need help from the sorcerers in the nearby village to get past the obstacle. But to his surprise, the boulder began to crack under Lily's repeated headbutts. Even though he was shocked, Leo kept his composure, reminding himself there were still more obstacles ahead. Lily moved on to a cave full of replicating slimes that could only be defeated by destroying their cores, but with her beastly skills, she simply dashed through them, tearing them to shreds. Leo was left speechless and decided to intervene. Seeing that Lily wasn't learning the intended lesson, he disguised himself as a wandering bard and followed her until she reached a deep cliff, impossible to cross with a jump. Confused, Lily asked the bard, Leo in disguise, if he knew a way to cross the chasm. Then, he sang a lively song, improvising a rap that encouraged her not to give up in the face of challenges and made her reflect on the power of teamwork. If she needed help to achieve a goal, she should rely on the people around her. Lily told the bard she now understood what she needed to do, and Leo smiled, thinking she had finally grasped his lesson. However, before he could stop her, she simply jumped off the cliff, plunging into the river below, swimming to the other side, and climbing up the opposite bank. She thanked the bard and continued on her way, leaving an exhausted Leo wondering if it was impossible to teach her anything. The next morning, Leo woke up to find that Lily had returned during the night, prepared the medicine with the herbs, and even fed him the potion while he slept. Moved, he thanked her, realizing that, despite everything, she was one of the kindest and most loyal people he knew. At that moment, Lily handed him a piece of paper with a plan drawn in crayon, full of doodles. Leo examined it and, to his surprise, realized she had created a complete plan to optimize the tasks, distributing the work among the demons according to their abilities. When he asked how she came up with the idea, Lily replied that while gathering the herbs, she met a kind bard who taught her about the importance of relying on friends and comrades for help. Impressed, Leo realized he might have underestimated Lily. He concluded that instead of leaving indirect hints, he should have been straightforward, like explaining horoscopes to someone who only understands the basics. The supplies were transported back to the castle on time, and Leo reported everything to Shutina, who was pleased with the mission's success. She then informed him that Echidna, the demon queen, had urgently summoned him to her chambers. Nervous, Leo feared Echidna might expel him once she discovered his true identity. He knew the queen was a skilled warrior, as strong as Edvard and as powerful a mage as Shutina, making it difficult to deceive her. Even Shutina was anxious since she had been the one to give Leo the opportunity without informing the queen. Determined, Leo composed himself, donned his black armor, and went to meet Echidna. Upon entering the room, he found Echidna cheerful and slightly drunk. She explained that she wanted to meet the person who had helped reduce Shutina's workload and taught Lily to be more efficient. With enthusiasm, Echidna led him to a table filled with delicacies from around the world and plenty of drinks. Leo joined her, eating and drinking as they talked. But suddenly, Echidna questioned why he was wearing a helmet while eating and drinking and insisted he take it off. Nervous, Leo tried to dodge the question, saying his face was so ugly that people couldn't stand to look at him, which forced him to wear armor all the time. However, Echidna, drunk and impatient, didn't wait for his consent and yanked off his helmet in an instant. Leo changed his face to that of another human, surprising Echidna, who had expected him to be a demon. She sat back down and they resumed their conversation, though Leo grew even more anxious to leave. He tried to get Echidna to drink more, hoping she'd become completely drunk and pass out. However, Echidna was a heavy drinker, and after emptying every glass, she started drinking straight from the bottle. Out of curiosity, Leo decided to probe her thoughts about him in disguise, asking why she hadn't allowed the hero Leo to join the demon army if she claimed not to discriminate against humans. Echidna's expression changed instantly, and she began speaking angrily about how much she despised Leo, declaring she would never let him join the army no matter what he did. She accused him of being a threat who would destroy the demon army from within, and mentioned that he was the reason she had failed to obtain the Philosopher's Stone, a relic that could have been decisive in her conquest. Shocked, Leo realized Echidna was after the Philosopher's Stone, which, according to rumors, possessed supernatural powers, such as turning barren lands into fertile fields and even granting immortality. Skeptical, he believed most of those stories were exaggerated, but asked why she didn't try negotiating with the humans for the stone. With a dark tone, Echidna replied that humans were selfish and cowardly, incapable of understanding her true intentions. She said the real world was nothing like fairy tales, where the hero and the demon queen live happily ever after. Leo grew curious about Echidna's reasons for wanting the Philosopher's Stone, since she didn't seem like someone obsessed with immortality or wealth. Echidna then explained that the demon world was a terrible place to live. There was no sunlight, the water was toxic, the land was barren, and the air was poisonous. On top of that, the demon clans were constantly at war, causing bloodshed without reason. She wished to use the Philosopher's Stone to turn the demon world into a habitable and dignified place for its inhabitants. Moved by Echidna's noble goal, Leo felt he could no longer hide his true identity. After seeing her sincerity, just as he was about to reveal who he really was, Lily and Shutina burst into the room in a panic, warning that Generals Edvard and Myrnes had gone missing. Echidna was stunned, and the two handed her the letters the generals had left behind. Myrnes wrote that he was leaving on a journey and asked that no one come looking for him. Edvard, on the other hand, said he felt like a failure and was leaving to end his own life. Leo suggested to Echidna that he should go after Myrnes while they tried to intercept Edvard. Still shaken and drunk, Echidna agreed. She then forced herself to regain sobriety with a fire spell, and Leo set off to find Myrnes, following his magical trace. Leo entered the forest but was soon attacked with knives. He dodged them and saw that it was Myrnes attacking him. Leo defended himself but decided to remove his helmet and reveal himself to the assassin, who then calmed down and agreed to talk. Sitting on a log, Leo asked Myrnes why he had run away and discovered that Myrnes was, in fact, a young man who was constantly bothered by being mistaken for a girl. Myrnes explained that the real reason he fled wasn't because of his appearance, but out of fear. In 3 days, he had to interview several candidates to become spies for the army, and being introverted, he was terrified of the responsibility. Leo was surprised, but could tell Myrnes was being sincere. Upon learning that Myrnes had once been the leader of a guild, he asked how he used to handle social situations before. Myrnes explained that his assistant had always taken care of everything involving social interaction. Since he no longer had anyone to help him, he decided to go on a journey to train his social skills, visiting various villages and talking to people. Laughing, Leo said that a demon trying to chat with human villagers didn't sound like a good idea, and convinced him to return to the castle with him. Upon arriving at the castle, Leo inquired about Edvard and found out they had managed to stop him in time. Edvard had tried to hurt himself with several swords, but, due to the toughness of his scales, came out completely unharmed. Echidna reveals that Edvard is now under the care of his daughter, who will keep an eye on him. Leo then decides to focus on helping Myrnes with his social difficulties. To train Myrnes, Leo arranges for both of them to work temporarily as waiters in a tavern inside the castle, where Myrnes takes on the role of a waitress, maintaining his ambiguous identity. While serving customers, Leo teaches Myrnes several communication techniques, listening carefully, interpreting what people truly mean, and responding appropriately. After a few lessons, Leo encourages Myrnes to handle a table on his own. Myrnes hesitates, but goes ahead. However, just as he tries to take an order, a group of rowdy wolf demons enters the tavern, causing a commotion. Their leader rudely demands meat and wine. Myrnes calmly asks what kind of meat he prefers, but the leader ignores him and starts harassing him, thinking he's a fragile girl. Having had enough, Myrnes quickly immobilizes the leader with an arm lock, breaking his arm. When the others attack, Myrnes easily handles them and throws them out of the tavern. At the end of their shift, back in Leo's room, he congratulates Myrnes, saying he nailed it and is getting better at dealing with people. That makes Myrnes genuinely happy, and he thanks Leo for the training. However, Leo isn't done with the learning process yet. He asks Myrnes to conduct a mock interview where Leo himself will be the applicant, so Myrnes can practice his communication skills. To his surprise, Myrnes begins by asking Leo about his true reason for joining the Demon Queen's army, questioning whether he really wishes to destroy humanity. Leo tries to dodge the question, but Myrnes insists, asking why Leo doesn't seem to share the same hatred he himself feels toward humans. Myrnes then shares his story. Being half human and half demon, he was never fully accepted by human society. He was eventually sold to a spy organization that used him for assassinations, treating him as disposable and devoid of human worth. After surviving all that, he developed a deep hatred for humans. When he learned that Echidna was waging war against humanity, Myrnes secretly helped her by opening the gates of a great city for her army. He expected a massacre, but Echidna surprised him by minimizing the bloodshed, imprisoning corrupt politicians, and distributing the city's resources to the needy. Impressed, Myrnes decided to join her, becoming one of her most trusted generals and leading the intelligence network. However, he had always hidden his true goal, to annihilate humanity. Myrnes reminds Leo that during their last fight, he had warned that if Leo didn't kill him, he would ensure humanity's destruction. But Leo had simply told him to travel and meet new people, teaching him that the world wasn't as dark as he thought. Impressed to see Myrnes open up like that, Leo decides to share his own story. He tells him that, in an ancient era, the place they now live was known as Japan, a technologically advanced country. One day, the Earth split open, and hordes of demons and monsters emerged from the underworld, seeking Earth's resources with no intention of sharing them with humans. This sparked a war between humans and demons, but humans were far weaker, leading them to develop super soldiers to fight back. Leo was one of those soldiers, created with demon DNA. He became humanity's sword, fighting tirelessly to protect them. However, when the war ended, he was quickly forgotten. Myrnes, intrigued, asks if Leo doesn't feel resentment, especially now, after all his sacrifices, having been rejected and cast out. Leo replies that when he was banished, he actually felt free at last from his toxic job, no longer forced to be anyone's hero. He's content observing humanity and facing his own problems. Myrnes is astonished to learn that Leo has protected humanity for over 1,000 years, realizing that Leo was also the mysterious sage who defeated the former demon king a century ago. Overwhelmed by so many revelations, Myrnes decides to end the day and goes to sleep. The next day, Leo is summoned by Echidna, who shows him a letter from Edvard explaining his decision to step down as general. Recently, he had tried training his troops against a chimera, one of the most dangerous monsters. Seeing his soldiers' fear, Edvard began calling them snowflakes, and mocking how he used to deal with such beasts with one hand behind his back in his youth. In the end, Edvard took the blame for the troops' lack of preparation and passed the title of general to his daughter, Dionette. Echidna asks Leo if he's overwhelmed by all these duties. Leo replies that he'll handle the problem on his own and ask for help if needed. With that, he sets out to find Edvard's daughter, ready to face yet another challenge in the demon army. Leo speaks with Dionette, who explains that the problem lies in the way her father views the soldiers. He expects everyone to be as strong as he is, something impossible. Edvard was born with unmatched abilities to become the greatest demon warrior, but he believes his strength comes solely from hard work, ignoring the fact that not everyone has the same physical potential. Dionette respects her father deeply, but knows he needs to learn that everyone has unique talents. She asks Leo to help teach him that lesson. After hearing her out, Leo devises a plan and brings Dionette and Lily to an old mining site, where demons had found a mechanical golem, a powerful machine from ancient times created by humans to fight incredibly strong demons. Leo programs the golem to move toward Edvard's training grounds and turns it invisible to observe his and his soldiers' reactions. When the golem appears, Edvard's troops panic, but he orders them to attack. The demons charge but soon discover their weapons are useless against the golem's armor and retreat in fear. Furious, Edvard commands them to stand their ground and fight bravely. However, when the golem charges a powerful laser beam, Leo realizes things have gone too far and quickly creates a magic barrier to protect the soldiers as the beam obliterates everything around them. The golem launches another attack, and again Leo intervenes, But this time, all the soldiers flee, leaving Edvard alone. Determined, Edvard runs toward the golem, but Leo shouts for him to duck, saving him from a fatal strike. Edvard keeps fighting but injures his shoulder while dodging another attack. Leo tries to guide him, but his instructions are too complex, leaving the warrior confused. Leo calls him an idiot sandwich and explains that no one there knows how to deal with the golem because they've never faced one before, something he wanted Edvard to realize. Leo instructs Edvard to strike the golem's blades from the sides to break them, and Dianette, standing beside him, suggests attacking the torso where the machine's weak point is. Edvard follows their advice and disables the golem. However, the machine emits a strange sound, which Leo recognizes as a call for reinforcements. Soon, 3 more golems emerge from nearby caves, but, anticipating this, Echidna had already positioned herself in those caves and destroys the machines with fire magic, reducing them to rubble. After the battle, Leo explains to Edvard that he needs to teach his soldiers the basics. Otherwise, they'll be as useless as he was against the golem. Edvard realizes his mistake and, ashamed, returns to his unit, apologizing for his harsh behavior and promising to become a more understanding general. Shortly after, Leo receives good news from Shutina. Echidna has decided to promote him. However, Shutina reveals that Myrni's told the other generals about Leo's past, and they now want to know if he lied to get the position. Leo reassures her, promising that he'll tell Echidna and the generals the whole truth. Shutina trusts him, but asks that he not reveal his identity until she gives the signal. As she leaves, Shutina notices Leo reading a book and asks about it. Leo explains that it's one of his favorite stories, about a demon named Ibed, the first demon ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize for promoting peaceful coexistence between humans and demons. Shutina mentions that even Echidna likes that book, which makes her even more hesitant about Leo's revelation. Leo then recalls when he met the real Ibed during the first war between humans and demons. Ibed, who looked far less impressive than described in the book, declared that he wasn't there to fight, but to escape the constant wars in the demon world. He told Leo that the Demon King had accidentally opened a portal to the human realm, and Ibed, curious, took the opportunity to explore a more peaceful land. Fascinated by Ibed's perspective, Leo listened to his stories and observations, learning about the struggles of the demon world under chaotic leadership and how Earth seemed like a haven of peace. Ibed explained that when the Demon King opened the portal, demons began migrating en masse to Earth. However, the most aggressive ones crossed first and quickly began attacking humans, starting a war. Ibed had wanted to return to his world immediately, but the demon closed the portal, leaving everyone trapped on Earth to die. He confessed that it was the high-ranking demons who were the true villains, while ordinary demons like him ended up suffering the consequences. At that time, Leo was very different, devoid of emotion. Even so, he saw value in Ibed for his knowledge and decided to take him to a containment facility instead of killing him. During the journey, the silence made Ibed nervous, and he asked Leo's name. For the first time, Leo smiled. No one had ever asked him that before. Leo then revealed that he was one of 12 artificial super soldiers created to protect humanity. Ibed pitied him, asking what Leo would do once all the demons were eliminated. Leo replied that he would wait for the next crisis, ready to save humanity again. Then Ibed pointed out that this was the real problem. In times of peace, Leo would have no purpose, trapped in an eternal and empty existence, wishing for tragedy just to have a reason to exist. Those words resonated with Leo, but he assured Ibed that he was the weakest of the artificial heroes and would likely die in the war against the demons. As the soldiers escorted Ibed away, he shouted one last piece of advice to Leo. If humanity ever rejected him, he should live as he wished. Leo didn't fully understand those words at the time, but he kept the memory, hoping that one day he might free himself from his burden of protecting humanity. That day came in 2060. Coming out of his nostalgic reflection, Leo silently thanked Ibed for his advice. Shortly after, Leo went to meet Echidna, disguised in his black armor, determined to reveal his true identity and the reason he was helping her. Echidna, meanwhile, was in her office, organizing Leo's promotion ceremony to 5th General, having placed complete trust in him. However, before the promotion could be made official, a servant burst in, warning that the portal to the demon world was closing. Shocked, Echidna rushed to the portal with all the generals and discovered they were running out of the catalyst needed to keep it open. She feared that all their progress would be lost if the portal shut down. With the combined magical power of Leo and Shutina, they managed to keep the portal temporarily stable. Echidna then called an emergency meeting to decide their next step. Lily asked what the problem would be if the portal closed, and Echidna explained that if it did, it would take centuries to open another one, leaving the demon world to suffer even longer without aid. Therefore, they had to make a decision within a week before the portal shut for good. Shutina proposed 2 options. The first was a complete retreat to the demon world, but that would mean abandoning many allies, such as demi-humans who lived in the human realm and couldn't cross through. Edvard pointed out that they'd have to part ways if they chose that path, but Lily, who had recently grown close to many soldiers, didn't want such a separation. The second option, according to Shutina, was to attack the human capital and try to seize the Philosopher's Stone, a powerful artifact that could help keep the portal open and even transform the demon world into a livable place. However, everyone hesitated, since the demon army was weak, and even ordinary humans could defeat them in their current state. Echidna still believed Leo was an ally of humanity, and the thought of facing him again made her tremble. She asked the disguised Leo if he had ever met the human hero, and he replied that he had only heard stories about him. Echidna then confessed that she had faced Leo personally and been defeated even after using all her power, describing him as an absolute monster. She declared that although she didn't fear her own death, she refused to lead her soldiers into a massacre. Faced with that, Echidna decided to choose the first option, to return to the demon world and disband the army. She announced that both she and Shutina would have to return, leaving everyone stunned. Lily tried to tell her that Leo was now on their side, but Shutina stopped her from revealing the secret. Misinterpreting Echidna's hesitation as an attempt to avoid objections, Echidna walked to the window and, her voice trembling, thanked her loyal generals for staying by her side until the end, holding back tears as she prepared for the inevitable return to the demon realm. Echidna declared that she needed to find an alternative way to make the demon world prosperous, because returning without any real change would be meaningless. She recalled how she had always dreamed of using the Philosopher's Stone to turn the demon realm into a habitable world and had worked tirelessly to achieve that dream. But now, all that remained was despair and frustration. At that moment, Leo removed his helmet and revealed the truth to Echidna. He explained that the Philosopher's Stone wasn't a magical object capable of granting wishes, but a relic from a technologically advanced era that used a micro-black hole to generate infinite energy. Leo said that no one truly knew how to use the Philosopher's Stone, but there existed a lost manual containing all the instructions. Both humans and demons had searched for that manual for ages, without success. Leo approached Echidna, and without letting her see his face, said that although forming an alliance with humans to find the manual would be difficult, it was the only way to achieve lasting peace. He then revealed that there were 2 Philosopher's Stones in the human world, and Echidna needed only one. Hope flickered in her eyes. Leo then asked her to turn around, and when she saw his face, Echidna froze. Leo snapped his fingers and dismissed the rest of his armor, finally revealing that he was the famous Black Knight. He apologized for deceiving her, explaining that it had been the only way to judge whether the Demon Queen was worthy of possessing the Philosopher's Stone. He said that if he had found her unworthy, he would have left immediately, but after meeting her and understanding her motives, he believed Echidna had the potential to bring peace and prosperity to the demon world and maintain harmony with humans. Echidna, stunned, took a moment to process the revelation, as if her mind were running on outdated software. When she finally understood, she began laughing hysterically, admitting she had been fooled. Leo teased her, saying she needed to update her system to keep up with him, but she ignored him and unleashed a powerful fire spell. Leo dodged and in a playful tone taunted her, saying she needed to learn new tricks because he was getting bored of that predictable attack. Seeing the situation escalate, the generals intervened, insisting that Leo had truly helped them, especially Lily and Shutina. Even Edvard and Myrnis agreed, and after much persuasion, Echidna finally calmed down and decided to hear Leo out. He told her that the second Philosopher's Stone was hidden in the nearby mountains, and that a powerful guardian protected it. Knowing Leo rarely exaggerated, Echidna grew concerned about the challenge, but her generals affirmed that they could face anything with teamwork. Leo then led Echidna and the 4 generals to the snow-covered mountains. During the journey, Echidna still hesitated to trust Leo completely and questioned him. He reaffirmed the stone's location, and the 2 exchanged playful remarks. Lily, shivering from the cold, was warmed by Shutina's magic, while Leo pointed to the peak, saying, "That's where the Philosopher's Stone was hidden." When they reached the summit, Leo told Echidna that the Philosopher's Stone had been his life's project for many years. He wanted the demons, after obtaining the stone, to negotiate peace with the humans and work together to find the manual that explained how to use it properly. Echidna admitted that for a long time she had believed true peace between humans and demons was impossible. But now, thanks to Leo, she had a new perspective. Leo reminded her that achieving peace wouldn't be easy, and Echidna, resolute, declared that she would do whatever it took. As the strongest demon queen in history, Leo praised her determination, but Echidna noticed a melancholy look in his eyes. Leo quickly returned to his teasing tone, saying that even the strongest demon queen was still no match for him. That sparked a playful snowball fight between the 2, making the generals smile as they watched their camaraderie. During their conversation, Echidna asked how Leo knew so much about the mechanical civilization that had existed over 3,000 years ago, when demons first invaded the human world. Leo simply replied that he had been born in that era, leaving Echidna stunned. Leo then revealed that he was an artificial bio-warrior created specifically to combat demons. He explained that his specialty was the ability to continuously evolve to face ever greater challenges, making his existence a constant cycle of battle and adaptation. As long as he existed, he could never escape it. Leo declared that if humanity no longer needed him, he would create enough chaos to make them reconsider. He challenged Echidna and her generals to prove their worth, saying that if they wanted the Philosopher's Stone and peace for both worlds, they would have to defeat him. His cold, emotionless expression left everyone shaken. Echidna remembered the stories she had heard as a child about the hero who defeated demon kings, a warrior so powerful that bards described him as unbeatable. When she was a child, she used to think the hero was just a human, and that if she ever faced him, she would put him in his place. But now, standing before the real Leo, she realized he had become a formidable threat, something she had never imagined. As Echidna tried to understand his intentions, Leo attacked with relentless ferocity. He pressed her with a barrage of devastating blows, forcing her to retreat and shattering the rocks around them. Desperate, Echidna asked what had driven him to this point, but he answered cryptically, saying his purpose had been betrayed and that for once, he deserved to be the one bringing destruction. Lily barely dodged an attack aimed at her as Echidna shouted, demanding to know why Leo would destroy what he had always protected. Leo laughed darkly and replied that after thousands of years keeping the world safe, he had earned the right to occasionally become the force of destruction himself. Echidna tried to stop him, but he pushed her back with a wave of energy, throwing her off balance. When Leo moved in for another strike, Edvard intervened, blocking the attack and trying to awaken Leo's sense of reason. Shutina also pleaded with him to return to his true self, but Leo remained unmoved, brushing Edvard aside and nearly killing him in the process. Shutina acted quickly, casting a powerful containment spell and trapping Leo inside a magical cage. She compressed the cage to immobilize him, but Leo's overwhelming strength allowed him to break free. He then attacked Edvard, launching him across the field with a crushing kick. Turning toward Shutina, Leo challenged her to fight seriously, declaring that if she truly wanted the Philosopher's Stone, she would have to kill him. Saddened, Shutina asked whether all the promises he made and the friendship they shared had been a lie. Leo, expressionless, replied coldly that if they didn't kill him, everyone would die. He unleashed dozens of magical arrows toward Shutina, but Edvard jumped in front of her, taking the blows and suffering severe injuries. Amid the chaos, Echidna intervened, trying to push him back, but Leo kept advancing, striking harder and harder. He shouted that he was sick of his endless existence and his ability to grow infinitely stronger, a curse that condemned him to a life without meaning, destined only to save the world again and again. With every blow, Leo made it clear that even though he no longer wanted to be a hero, his internal programming wouldn't let him escape that fate. He accused humanity of rejecting his purpose, but never granting him the freedom to choose another path. Echidna realized that Leo was deeply tormented, trapped between his imposed duty and his longing for freedom, and that the only way to achieve peace and save both humans and demons was to heal the inner pain consuming him. Determined, Echidna and her generals prepared to face Leo in one final, decisive battle, knowing that to obtain the Philosopher's Stone and fulfill their dreams, they would have to fight the very hero who was created to protect them. In a moment of fury and despair, Leo summoned thousands of magic arrows in the sky, declaring his hatred for everyone and vowing to destroy both the human and demon realms. With a motion of his hand, he released the arrows, devastating everything around them. Panicking, Echidna raised a barrier to protect Lily and Myrnes, while Shutina shielded Edvard. But amid the chaos, Echidna realized that Leo's power was far beyond any of theirs. She felt her strength was nowhere near enough to contain him and wondered whether she should use her ultimate spell, though she doubted it would work against him. Desperate, Lily stood up and pleaded for Leo to stop. She reminded him that back in Largo, he had listened to her problems and given her advice. Now, she saw this as her chance to repay him and begged him to share his pain with her so they could resolve it without violence. For a brief moment, Leo seemed moved by Lily's words. He sheathed his sword and asked if she was truly willing to listen to his problems. Lily, her tail wagging and eyes determined, said yes. Then Leo revealed, in a cold voice, that his biggest problem was that the heroes he had chosen were too weak to stop him. Immediately after, he fired 2 magic arrows at Lily, catching everyone off guard. Echidna lost her temper and shouted at Leo, declaring that he was no longer a hero. No hero would attack a defenseless opponent. She charged at him, and their clash sent shockwaves through the air. Meanwhile, Shutina chanted a high-level spell and fired a lightning arrow straight at Leo. He took the hit, but to everyone's horror, emerged unscathed. Leo roared, goading them to fight harder if they wanted to defeat him, because he would only stop if they truly intended to kill him. Struggling to his feet, Edvard felt the weight of Leo's words. He thanked the former hero for teaching him the importance of recognizing others' weaknesses, and said that Leo would always be a true friend and mentor to him. Leo asked if Edvard still felt that way, and the dragon proudly said yes, but precisely because of that, he would do whatever it took to stop him. Activating his dragon blood ability, Edvard covered his body in hardened scales and sprouted wings, flying toward Leo with fierce determination. He attacked with a mighty strike followed by a blast of fire, but Leo easily dodged. Edvard launched another blow, but Leo caught his sword with his bare hands and froze it, trapping Edvard in an icy snare. Edvard insisted that wouldn't be enough to stop him, but Leo, without hesitation, cast fire magic on him, weakening the scales with the sudden temperature shift, then hurled him against a boulder. Seeing Edvard fall, Echidna and Shutina combined their powers for a joint attack. Echidna charged with her sword, while Shutina trapped Leo in a rock prison and unleashed an intense fire spell. But even that couldn't scratch him. Leo walked toward Echidna slowly, unhurried, while she, frozen in shock, realized the gravity of the situation. In that instant, Myrnes appeared, executing a deadly assassination technique, but Leo, with extraordinary reflexes, dodged, taking only a minor cut. Standing beside Echidna, Myrnes gained confidence and fought to support her as she tried to hold Leo back with a barrage of attacks. While Leo focused on Echidna, Mernes seized the opportunity to strike from behind, but Leo blocked the blow. The assassin, determined, demanded to know what Leo truly wanted. Leo replied coldly that he wanted to die while saving the world, but Mernes, disbelieving, called it a lie. He leaped high, creating shadow clones to distract Leo, declaring that if Leo truly wanted to die, he would have fought them seriously from the beginning instead of joining the demon army. Instead, Leo had guided them and taught them lessons that only someone with hope for the future would share. Leo destroyed the clones one by one, and when Mernes attacked from behind, Leo paralyzed him with magic, making him collapse to the ground. With a dark smile, Leo declared that 3 of the heroes had already fallen, and that he would destroy the world so it would once again need saving. At that moment, Lily, in her white wolf form, charged at him, but Leo blocked her with a single arm. He noticed she was crying and told her that despite her willpower, she was still far too weak to face him. Through her tears, Lily confessed that she didn't want to fight him, but she couldn't stand seeing the pain in his eyes. That brief moment of vulnerability struck something deep within Leo, but he maintained his ruthless demeanor and said that if she truly wanted to help him, she should try to stop him. Lily lunged again, but he easily struck her down, rendering her unconscious. Echidna watched in horror, realizing that Leo was a true monster, his power far beyond anything she or her generals could withstand. Yet, upon seeing the determination of his former allies, Leo felt a faint spark of something he didn't want to acknowledge. Perhaps he still longed for connection and purpose. Refusing to give up, Echidna gathered her remaining strength and stood beside Shutana, Edvard, and the others. She looked at Leo and with a firm tone declared, "You may be stronger than us, but we're a team, and together we'll make you remember who you really are." Leo, his expression momentarily confused, hesitated for a brief instant, though his face hardened again. Even so, a flicker of doubt appeared in his eyes, and everyone sensed that maybe there was still a chance to save him from his spiral of destruction. Revisiting the archives and devices that contained information about his own creation and purpose, Leo spent days in the laboratory, lost in memories of the scientists who had designed him as a biological weapon built to protect humanity at any cost. Remembering those days, he realized that, from the very beginning, he had never had a choice in his destiny. He had been programmed to protect, to fight, to be humanity's final line of defense. But now, that function had become a curse. As he reflected on his past, Leo understood that with the world at peace, he had become nothing more than a being without purpose, condemned to wander the earth in search of meaning. The feeling of uselessness consumed him, and the lack of purpose had turned him into a bitter soul, subconsciously wishing the world were in constant peril so that he might have a reason to exist. Yet that longing for chaos had driven him to extremes. He had begun to consider becoming the threat himself to justify his own existence. Back in the present, under the effect of Echidna's spell, those memories hit him with overwhelming force, and he realized how much his mind had been twisted over the centuries. He looked at Echidna and the generals around her, who still struggled to stand firm, ready to keep fighting. The determination shining in Echidna's eyes made Leo see in her the kind of leader he could never be, someone who, despite her immense power, genuinely cared for the well-being of others and sought to bring true peace, not just for her own people, but for everyone. Exhausted but resolute, Echidna stepped closer to Leo and, her voice trembling, asked, "Why did you let the spell hit you? You could have dodged it." Still under the influence of the spell that temporarily sealed his powers, Leo replied with rare honesty. He explained that he was tired of bearing the weight of a world in endless peace all alone, and that by allowing Echidna and the others to challenge him, he had hoped they might find a way to free him from his obsessive programming. Watching Leo's vulnerability, Lily approached and asked if he truly wanted to destroy the world, or if this was just a desperate way of being heard. Looking at Lily's tearful face, Leo murmured, "No, I never really wanted to destroy the world. I just wanted to feel like I truly belonged to it, and not merely be its weapon." Hearing his words, Shutina told him he no longer needed to be a lonely hero. "You've taught us, Leo. We can fight too. You don't have to carry everything by yourself." Leo was overtaken by a rush of emotions he had suppressed for centuries. In the faces of Echidna and her generals, he no longer saw enemies but allies, friends willing to stand by his side, not as followers, but as equals. As the spell's effect faded, Leo slowly rose to his feet, feeling his strength return. Echidna, surprised but relieved, smiled and extended her hand to him as a sign of trust and respect. Finally accepting his vulnerability and the possibility of finding a new purpose, Leo promised to use his power not to destroy, but to help build a future where humans and demons could coexist in harmony. And so, the hero who once fought against everyone now stood beside those who dared to challenge him, forming a new alliance of hope, strength, and true friendship. Experiencing what it meant to fight alongside them, Leo, his smile faint, but his eyes shining with nostalgia, said that not only had he enjoyed it, but that these moments with them were the most precious of his long life.